Well, a potential rail strike in Canada may now be delayed until July. Host of Real Ag Radio, Sean Haney, joins us now with the latest. Sean, thank you so much. So, we've been watching this strike. Obviously, this is a good thing when we talk about these ripple effects and how a strike could impact agriculture and the supply chain, but probably not so good. I know these rail workers want things to be fixed. So why are we seeing this strike date being pushed back?
Yeah, good to be with you here, and happy grilling, everybody, this weekend on Memorial Day, long weekend across the U.S. Now, why the delay? The strike, now this is a potential strike of over 6,000 rail workers with both national railways in Canada, the CPKC and CN Rail. Of course, there's U.S. impact potentially here very, very much as well. This has been pushed back because the Canadian government has asked the Canadian Industrial Relations Board to rule whether a strike would have safety implications, pushing back the potential start date for the stoppage. A legal strike or lockout actually cannot happen until the Canadian Industrial Relations Board, the CIRB, renders a decision on this. Now, this tactic has been used previously with the terminal in Montreal. And it's a very interesting strategy by the government by not interfering in the strike, by doing back-to-work legislation, but actually using the CIRB, which they're going to be looking at propane and whether or not a strike of the two railways would prevent Canadians from being able to access propane out of the United States or other parts of Canada in terms of heating their homes or using it as fuel for the winter months. So we're pushed back to July now.
When you look at this delay, are there key things that we need to be looking out for between now and then?
So I was actually talking to a source yesterday that knows the transportation very well, and they had made the comment to me, the key here to watch is the two sides during this period of the CIRB and report or investigation. Do the two sides stay negotiating? And there's concerns on that. The CPKC is out yesterday talking about how they've been trying and no future talks are currently scheduled. So if this investigation happens between now and July, let's say, and the two sides don't talk, this delay is really all for naught and pushes us really close to the start of the new crop shipping season. So that's the key to watch. Do the two sides continue to keep negotiations and work closer to a deal during this quiet period?
That's interesting that you say that. It pushes, of course, right, to a date in July, and then you have to look at the impact that could have on grain and fertilizer movement.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously for the American audience, there's a lot of potash that's going south. Now we'll be outside of the planting window, so maybe we're outside of the concern about fertilizer at that point in July. But we're getting really close to the August 1st, and, when we start to really see grain shipments really, really heat up and get started for the new crop year. And remember, there's already a lot of 23 crop that is still on farm and yet to be shipped. So that's a factor, especially as we've had a lot of rain in Western Canada. So production is expected to be up this year. And right now, if we get some heat, it's looking like a much better crop than, say, the past two years. So there's going to be some bushels to definitely move once we get to harvest. We're a long ways from harvest, but I think we're looking pretty positive at this point. So, and there's also the propane factor. That's another piece as we get a little bit closer to harvest, because there's a lot of reliance on propane being used for grain drying, especially in Ontario. So this has real national and North American impacts if this strike is actually to happen.
Well, of course, something that we're going to continue keeping a close eye on, as you are as well, Sean. So I thank you for the input. Host of Real Ag Radio, Sean Haney, joining us. And this Real Ag Radio update brought to you by Economics. You can go to nutrient-economics.com for the latest crop nutrition research and information. And you can also catch Sean on his Real Ag Radio show that airs 4:30 p.m. Eastern. That's weekdays, Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM.